I would call this woman a starburst. Literally a starburst that cannot be contained, because there is so much light within this incredible, powerful change maker that I'm about to bring on stage. Literally, there is so much light bursting out of her that wherever she goes and that light touches, it just creates a ripple of light that things could never be the same again. And we're going to dive in now to how the things that she's achieved, even just in the last 6 months, are things that you could be achieving when you apply the same principles that she is applying to her business. Let's bring her up onto the stage. Sabina!
Hi! Oh my goodness, what an intro. Thank you so much.
Like, you are such a star.
Talking about me.
Like, literally everything you touch is like, all right, it's done, it's done, it's done. It's almost like, I'll give you something to do, and you're like, well, it done yesterday, like you can't do it fast enough. The amount of change, honestly, it's just such a pleasure working with you, because you work at a speed that's quite unlike anything I've ever known. And yet you're dealing with a full-time job. You are homeschooling your daughter full-time, and you do tuition in the evenings, teaching others. And you're on this program, and you're publishing a book, and you're talking to MPs about getting your program out there. You're having some very, very high level conversations. I mean, it's just phenomenal watching you. And I do think to myself sometimes, we've got the same amount of hours in the day. How is she achieving so much? And yet there are other people that are taking a year to achieve what you achieve in a week. I want to touch on that before we touch on anything else. How are you doing it? Because there's nobody that can tell me they're so busy that they can't fit this in. How do you do it, Sabina?
Well, not easily. So yesterday, well, for example, yesterday was a really important day for me. So I went to school during the day, and then I had tuition in the evening. I didn't finish till 8:30, and I had to get some media stuff ready before the next day. So I literally stayed up till 3:00 in the morning getting it done. And then I had another really important meeting the following day. So I was just purely working on adrenaline. Just when you have to get things done, you have to get things done. And the thing is, children grow up so fast, and I haven't got time. I know, I've got 3 children, and I do not have time to wait. So every second counts. I just make the most of all the time that I have, really.
You literally are making the most of the time that you've got. I mean, like, I think you're going to get at some point in the very, very far future, let's pray for that, there will be a time when, you escape this mortal coil, shall we say. And I think you're going to get to the end of your life and say, there is not a thing that I regret. Like, I made the most of every minute, and I didn't let the grass grow under my feet. And I think, especially with the mission that you're on, because it's such a mission that is so close to your heart, that you're so passionate about, you really have found your reason why. Your purpose is so strong. And because of that, I think that's why you are so motivated. Have you got a cat that you haven't grown a tail in the time that I've known you, have you? My cat does that all the time. Like, every single time. Like, I can be doing nothing all day, and the minute I start talking to someone, she's all over me. Oh dear, that's so funny. So like, when you're purpose driven, when you are mission driven, when you're clear about what that is, I think that we were talking before we came on here, like, you can put the hours in and it actually doesn't feel like you're working, so you don't feel tired, because you're doing something that ignites you, that inspires you, that you can see the change you're making. Like, what would you say to those people that are watching this that aren't feeling on purpose and that aren't feeling like they're on their mission? Yeah.
The thing is what's changed for me now. Without me divulging too much, I don't look I don't look my age.
She's only 12, really.
I'm actually over 50, and I'm not saying any more than that. So I have had a lot of years where I haven't been able to do the things that I'm able to do now. I've had a lot of experience of not being able to achieve the level of progress that I'm achieving now, because I've gone through the procrastination. I've gone through, sitting there going, oh, am I good enough? Can I do this? This is really hard. I've been there, done that. And it's got to a point where I'm fed up. I got so fed up of myself. And there was so much I wanted to do that the place where I had to start was with myself. So I had to look at my self-care, which I wasn't doing previously. I was always giving to everybody else. There was no time for me. And then something went off in my head, and I thought, you know what? If I actually want to be able to do the things I want to do, I need to look after myself first. So if there's anybody out there that's thinking, oh, they need to, they're bored and they want to do something, but no, they can't. You really need to sort your head out first. You need to sort your mindset out. You need to look after yourself. And then when you're in that position of actually, maybe it's possible I can do that. When you start to take care of yourself, magic starts to happen. People then appear that wouldn't necessarily appear, and then people start to treat you differently. It's almost as though when you look after yourself, then the universe goes, oh, that person needs looking after. We'll put this person in their life to look after them. We'll put this person in their life to look after them. And suddenly the floodgates open. And before, I used to meet people that, how can I put this nicely, weren't very nice. Whereas now, like literally everyone I come across is fantastic. They're so lovely. They're so giving. And I'm like, where have you all been hiding? Life just seems so much easier than it ever was. Whereas before, I used to have people saying, you can't do that, can't do this, and all the negativity. But then if I think about it realistically, that negativity was in my head and it was coming back to me. So what I felt actually came back to me. And then when I started to shift my own mindset and thought things were possible, then things became possible. And now it's like, like I just shared with you that like yesterday, I was teaching all day and then I had tuition and then I was up till 3 a.m. But then I went to this really important meeting the next day and I was on fire. It's like I was on pure adrenaline, but I absolutely loved it. And the people I was with were phenomenal, and they were so engaging and they were so enthusiastic and encouraging. I was like, well, this is good. It's really easy. It just happens. I can't, it's like magic. Once you take care of yourself, once you take care of your mindset, then life just opens up in front of you. So you have to start with you.
And I think, because when you talk about looking after yourself, there is balance. But I remember I was interviewing someone many years ago, and they said, well, what really is balance? Because like, how do you achieve balance? Everyone talks about trying to get balance, but it's not possible. And their view of it is that whatever you're focusing on, it's getting your attention. So you can't be balanced. Even if you're focusing on your health, then something else is missing out. So your relationships or your job or whatever, because you're focusing on this. There's never ever really a kind of a balanced proportion of where you are investing your time. But what you can do is go all in on that. With a little bit of this, and then it will be all in on that with a little bit of this, and so it eventually does balance itself out.
Yeah, because I do teaching most of the time, and when years back when I wasn't in the best mindset or the best frame of mind, I used to find challenging situations even worse than they should have really been. But then once I started to take care of, I'd have like a morning routine where I would make myself happy, just smiling, when you're brushing your teeth and just smiling at yourself. it delivers the hormones into your body, the happy chemicals into your body, and you set yourself up for a good day, and then the rest of the day it becomes easier. And the thing is, in my case, because I work with children, once I started to take care of my mindset and I was happy, and then I went into school happy, then the children were happy, and then I had a better reaction than when I went in feeling miserable or feeling tired or whatever. But having that mindset shift change just made all the difference. And I think when you're doing anything, whether it's a business or anything like that, if you have that happy mindset, things naturally become easier because more happiness comes towards you. I mean, it's easy to see when you're working with children because you see their faces all light up. And it's like I went to a school a couple of days ago, and I hadn't been to the school in 6 months because I do supply teaching, so I go to different schools. And I walked in and the children were like, Mrs. Bashir, where have you been? I haven't seen you in ages. And it was just so lovely that there's other supply teachers in the school, but I walk in and they're all screaming and like I'm some kind of celebrity, and it's really funny. And it's like when I was years ago, that wouldn't have happened. I would just quietly walked into the school, quietly found my classroom, waited for the children to come in. And now it's like they see you and, hi, haven't seen you in ages. And it's just the energy and the difference that you feel when you've set yourself up at the beginning of the day is just, I just can't explain it. And then that gives you the drive and the adrenaline to do the things you need to do as well. Because I couldn't do half the things that I do now. I couldn't have done that, 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I wouldn't have had the energy to do it.
In terms of your energy, you would think that you would have to work harder now to have more energy than you had then. But the only difference between the you now and the you then, other than age, is the way that you think.
Definitely.
Darren talked about that in the first session this morning, and how powerful it is. Your level of thinking will literally determine the results that you create. Let's talk about brand for a minute, because what I'm hearing you say is your energy is your brand. So your energy that you brought to those kids, like, they don't know what your business is called. They don't know what your brand colors are. They don't know about, your business message or anything. But what your brand means to them is your energy that you bring to it, which is very interesting, isn't it? As a conversation, as like, what, for those of you that are listening and watching, what energy is your brand? If you walk into a room and you want your energy to be the representation of you, what energy are you currently bringing to your brand versus the energy that you want to bring to it? That's such a good question. Sabina, I think that the journey that you've been on, it's like you've had two halves of your life so far of what I know of you. There's the Sabina who's got two totally grown up children, who is it 2 or 3 totally grown
up? So my daughter, the eldest, she's 28, my son's 26, and my little one, she's 13.
Yeah, so you've got like the 2 that are grown up, that are, they're all off on their way, and then you've got your beautiful daughter that you bring, Alicia. Is she Lily or Alicia? I call her Lily.
It's Alicia Lily.
Alicia Lily. She signs off on their messages, Lily. And so yeah, you bring her to the events, which is so awesome, because she's really getting into the mindset and the vibe. You absolutely have an emerging entrepreneur there, and the fact that you're pouring into her and allowing her to express, explore, and expand that part of her at such a young age is brilliant. I love you bringing her to the events, and and seeing her progress. And at the last one, she's like, I'm writing a novel. There's all kinds of stuff that you are empowering in her, and I think that is a really important thing that you're doing, obviously. But one of the things that you were really passionate about, and I loved seeing your passion come out in our little Catalysts of Change WhatsApp group the other day, was like, look guys, our next generation, They need us to step up. Like, you know, look at how they are right now. We've got to do something. If we don't do something, then who will? And you are such a catalyst in the area of our next generation. I want you to share with everybody right now, like, share that story, share what it is that you're passionate about, because a movement starts with one person, but it can't grow unless other people join it. So this is an opportunity to get everybody involved in your movement. Tell everyone about it.
So going back to Lily, so when she's 13 now, but when she was younger, when she was about 7, I had so many problems and difficulties with her, which came as such a shock to me, because my older 2 children, as we've mentioned, they went through school, they went through the usual, did their exams, went to university, went into corporate jobs, happy days, look at me, wonderful parent, give myself a pat on the back. But then I had my youngest, and she had mental health issues. She was 7. She turned around and she told me she didn't want to live anymore. I had so many problems with her. I couldn't get her. First of all, I couldn't get her into nursery. It took me 2 weeks of staying with her to get her into nursery to start off with. And then that was when she was 3. But the problems just continued, and they escalated and escalated until she got to 7. And then in the end, she had an accident because she was coming home, slamming doors, screaming and everything. And I couldn't understand what went wrong. And as a mother, as a teacher, I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. I was like, oh my goodness, like it was my fault. How have I got it so wrong that, my own child is so unhappy? And I'm going out there trying to deal with all these other children and give them an education and help them through. And she had an accident and I had to pull her out of school. And so I've been homeschooling her since. But I just can't even express how hard it was. And then luckily for me, everybody hated COVID, but for me, it was a godsend, because it meant that I could now stay at home while my daughter was at home. And then I could then help her recover from all the problems she'd had. Now, at the time, what I did was I had to have a good hard look at myself, have a good hard look at her life, what had happened, what had gone wrong. And that's where all my research started into what I'm doing now. And when I look back at the life she had compared to my children, the older 2 children, I saw that when she was born when my eldest, she was going through her GCSEs. So there was a lot of stress at home. And what young children do is they pick up all the energy from around them. So she became negatively affected by all the stress from my eldest having a GCSE. Then my son, 2 years later, he had his GCSEs, but then my eldest was having her A-levels. And then straight after that, my eldest left home. She went to university. And so there was a lot of stress and drama going on around all of that. And then 2 years after that, my son then left home. Now, my youngest, she'd grown up with her older brother and sister, and she absolutely idolized them. But for her, when they left, it was like she went through grieving. It was like they'd passed away, effectively. And I didn't understand that's what was happening with her. And so, but we all just think, oh, it's a baby, they're not affected, they'll grow out of it, they'll bounce back. And I didn't really give it any more thought than that until it just got worse and worse and worse. And then we moved house, and so there was a lot of instability in her life, lot of stress, lot of tension. And that's what she became clingy. She didn't want to go to school. She was a school refuser. And all of those things culminated into the mess and the problem I ended up with in the end. And then I realized it wasn't me that had specifically caused anything. It was the situation and the experiences that she was having. And then as I did more research, I realized that other families are going through exactly the same thing, because there are families who, from research, apparently the average adult now has 6 significant relationships in their lifetime. So some have more, some have less. But if you imagine they're having multiple marriages and multiple divorces, so the children are then having um, step parents, step grandparents, step siblings, not once, twice. They're moving homes. The parents are changing their jobs more often. So there's a lot of instability now built into children's lives in general. So that is what we're seeing in schools as well. And parents are struggling to deal with their children, just as I struggle to deal with mine. And so I understand from a parent's point of view, you know, how difficult it is when you have to deal with that. And then but then as a teacher, you're in the classroom and you've got 30 children, and there's so many children now impacted by the changes in society.
Yeah.
And you know, there's just a fallout from it all. But adults aren't understanding, teachers and parents, not just, you know, one or the other. In general, adults aren't understanding the impact all of this is having on children's lives. And I know, you know, firsthand what it's like. So that's why I started this, because when my daughter then started to make a recovery, because I created well-being journals for her. Well, actually, there were emotional trackers and emotional tools to help her regulate herself, because she wasn't able to regulate her emotions. And so I created these journals to help her, and I created a guide, because children, even though I have all this experience, when you're dealing with your own child, they do not listen. They will listen to somebody else, but they don't always listen to their parent. So I had to, I actually have one here. So I had to write everything I wanted her to know. I wrote it down in a journal. So things like, you know, why you have to have sleep, why you have to, how to make friends and things like that. And then she had her, this was the How to Unlock Happiness guide. So she had that as a companion. And so every time she felt down or anything upset her, she would then refer back to it without having to come and ask me. And that really helped her regulate her emotions. And then I created another one where she could tick off the activities that she did in the day, and that structured her day. Whereas before, because she was then being homeschooled, I actually had to go to work and I was teaching in school. So she was at home with her dad during the day. And then that helped me check that she'd done all the things she needed to do. And it built structure into her day, so that as time went on, that instability became more stable, and then she was able to grow. So once I did all of that and she felt a lot better, she then actually turned around and she said, "Mum, you need to help other children like me." And then that's when all of this started, because then I realized I actually have something, and I understand from a parent's point of view how traumatic it is when you can't, you know, your child is so unhappy and you don't know what to do about it. And then as a teacher, you're dealing with these children who are coming in upset. And we're not social workers. We're not trained to deal with these things. We're trained to teach and give children knowledge. But then how do you give a child knowledge when they're sitting under the table crying and they won't come out and they won't engage in a lesson? And a lot of people don't understand, especially there's all these teacher training to try and make the educational system better, because there's this misunderstanding that by improving the educational system, then it will improve the grades. But how do you improve grades when a child just stormed out of the classroom, slammed the door and gone and hidden in the toilets? I mean, that's not going to
This is such a big issue. It's such a big issue, isn't it? And the fact that you are challenging it head on, you are taking it right to the top. You are, nothing is going to stop you from achieving what you set out to achieve, because your mindset is so strong. But I just, in the little minute that we've got left, could you tell everybody about what we're planning for your workshop in, when did we say we're going to do that? Was it September?
That was
third week of September. So, because I think what's important here, kind of leaping from what you've just been talking about into this, is there are lots of us that have grown up in unstable instability in terms of environment, and that now we are at the age of 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, where the ripple effect, actually, that if we'd have had what you're providing to kids now, I know that we are a different generation and every generation is different. But I really think that we need what you're providing as well. It's not just for the kids. I think, entrepreneurs need that structure, especially entrepreneurs who are dealing with neurodiversity, who, they need that stability. They need that structure around them. And I think that this will be a really valuable workshop if you could do something with us all around, that mindset that you've given to Alicia Lilly. We all need that mindset, because what I see in your daughter now, I can't even imagine her being another way. She is so all together. It's like she's more all together than anybody else in the room. When we go to events, and like, just imagine how much more entrepreneurs would get done if they had that. So whatever you've done with her needs to be done with entrepreneurs as well. So is there something we can do on your workshop that's around that?
Well, it would be dealing with your inner child, as opposed to, I mean, the work that I do is working with children, but there's a lot of healing that needs to be done in adults, because they've gone through difficulties in their time, in their lifetime, and dealing with their inner child. But they're now in a better position because they're older, so they understand things better. So the workshop that I would run would be to, deal with your mindset, get to that happy place, find that passion that's inside you. That's there. All children have it. You look at any child, and they bounce back as soon as they have a problem. They'll sit there, they'll bawl their eyes out, they'll cry, and then an hour later, it's like, what's the problem? And I think adults, we've lost that, and we need to get back to that and go, right, do you know what? Yeah, I was upset, this thing happened, but don't drag it out for like 10, 20 years. It's you had a problem. We're going to bounce back, have the strategies to bounce back from it. And in an hour's time, just like a little child, go, right, now I'm going to move on to the next thing. You get upset, you fall over, pick yourself up, and then move on to the next thing. And I think it's that I still can't work out how we came from children that bounce back so quickly to adults that drag things out for days and months and years, holding on to grievances and upset. And then that's what really holds us back.
And as you've already said at the beginning of this interview, the energy that you put out there is exactly the energy you're going to get back. And if you're putting out low energy, low vibration, you're going to meet low energy, low vibration people. If you're putting out high energy, then that high energy is going to create high impact, and you will attract other high impact people. So I think that's going to be a brilliant session. Guys and girls, all of Sabina's details are on the screen right there. You'll be able to pause it when you watch the replay of this. And also, I want to, just guide you to You Were Born to Shine, which is exactly what Sabina has talked about in her chapter. I really advise that you read it. It's a very, very powerful story, one that we didn't even touch on here. So you're going to want to read that. Make sure you go buy the book. It is at the impactcatalyst.com/change. When you get it through that link, rather than going to Amazon, you'll be able to get access to all of next year's Thrive in 25 workshops that we are doing, of which this will be one of them. Sabina, very quickly, is there anything that you want to leave as a parting gift of inspiration?
Parting gift of inspiration would be really, really, really think about your mindset. Whatever you decide to do, make sure you're in the best frame of mind before you even start. Otherwise, it's not going to turn out the way you want. If you think negatively, then it will happen. If you think positively, it will happen. It is a choice. It actually is a choice. You just have to choose which one you want.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sabina, for your time. I'm really appreciative of you taking that time out, because we know how busy you are. Guys and girls, I hope that you're enjoying this as much as I am, and that you're taking loads of notes. I'm going to, obviously, I'm in the moment. I'm in the zone while I'm here. But when I watch it back, I'm going to be one of those people that are taking loads of notes as well, because I enjoy it more afterwards. I enjoy it now, but I'll enjoy it more after. But I can really absorb it and and be open to all the light bulb moments and things. But guys and girls, we will be back with your next catalyst of change in a few moments. So stay right where you are, and we'll see you there.
Thank you.